Hi, welcome back. We've talked obviously about our situations, the fact we journal and write down, and we talked about gratitude. Now I want to talk to each of you about, so Charles mentioned yesterday about having a group around you. And one of the things I know he does is a group called Inspired CEOs, which is supportive in the way he talks about. So tell me a bit more about that, Charles.
So essentially, Inspired CEOs is a place for early stage business leaders or charity leaders where they've got between 1 and 5 people working with them to come together twice a week. We choose to do it 8 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock in the morning. And a combination of putting them in a hot seat where they can be challenged about something that's going on in their business, giving them a reflective practice on some of the workshops we've done, and which we call an activation session, and then a game-changing conversation. You can go and check out Kerr Lass's game-changing conversation at inspiredceos.biz if you want to find out more about Kerr, that we do twice a month. The real power is the mutual support. We get to see each other twice a week, every week for an hour. We can spot, even though it's on Zoom, that somebody's happier or less happier. We use WhatsApp to keep in communication outside the room. And we've had people ring each other up and help each other beyond the room. So that is a spot where, in a confidential setting, you can bring things to the table that really matter to you. And there is a very strong spirit of generosity in that room where people are there for each other. And that gives them an opportunity to give, and it gives others an opportunity to receive. I think this power of giving and what that does for our mental health is under-recognized. And I know there's research which talks about how volunteering helps with mental health, but I think there's all sorts of other opportunities for being generous that will shift your mental state.
I definitely agree. I mean, I was in the early days of lockdown last year. I came along to your Inspired CEOs meetings, and the hot seat and the feeling of belonging in that room, where it wasn't like networking. It's not we're here and we do this. It's generally an uplifting, a chat, a discussion, an exploration, and it helps people see things they wouldn't otherwise see. So certainly, if you're a new CEO, or even an existing CEO, I recommend very much connecting with Charles and having a chat with him about that service. Charles was kind enough to give you a little trailer there. Tell me about what you can offer.
Yeah, I would also say that what Charles is doing is awesome, and it's been a pleasure to be with the conversations. So definitely go and check out those. What we do is a mental wellness gym. It's not about a physical gym at all, or as a typical gym. It's about training the brain. We have taken it into different exercises. When somebody comes into a training, so first take a self-evaluation, and sometimes they have video-based trainings. And after this training is taken into sessions. After each session, they have a quiz, and the session explains a certain topic, for example, how to spot warning signs of burnout. And then the questions or quizzes afterwards enable to check that you understand it correctly, what you have to do. And each of our training is in this kind of a 5 different sessions. And after those sessions, you again have a self-evaluation. And what it means is that we usually recommend to take 1 session per day or 2 sessions per week, so that it takes a little bit longer time. But what it means is that you come and you self-evaluate yourself. Then you take a training, you learn something, and in the end you take the same self-evaluation. And what gets measured is your progress. What kind of a progress you made during this training. And I think measuring your progress on a daily basis is why journaling or keeping a diary is very important. But we have kind of made it possible also through digital means to do that very smoothly. And we also have a workbook which we recommend to fill, which is partly like a journal, partly it's kind of a self-development plan. and it enables you to overcome a certain obstacle, for example, related to stress and burnout, or for example, related to keeping yourself fit mentally. And we currently offer 3 different e-trainings, and what we see very often is that, for example, what surprised me as organizer of those trainings, that when people evaluate, for example, their own stress level or burnout risk, and some take a training and some evaluate again, the result actually gets worse. And it's not that the situation is getting worse, but it's that they now have actually right understanding to evaluate themselves in the end. And that means that we very often don't actually notice our own situation. We're just not aware of what to look for in our own inner domain. And if we lack that kind of interpersonal skills to keep ourselves well, then it is very probable that we become ill. And maybe last thing that I want to emphasize is that you don't go to the gym and do some physical exercises when you are ill. You do it when you are well. And I think you need a similar attitude to mental wellness. You need to train your brain while you are well, so that when the right gets tough, then you can stay well even in the midst of turmoil or external problems like we have currently in the world.
Indeed.
Training you when you are well is a key both on physical fitness side and mental fitness side.
Anything to add to that, Charles?
I think it's really exciting to see how we can build habits to get fit, and habits around mental wellness. For me, I think one of the things that I've done in the past is self-medicate by having high carbohydrate foods, which is not a physically healthy option, but it gave me a way of managing my mental state. And now I've used that cue, oh, I'm going to eat a big baked potato or a pizza or whatever. Now then, the need to do that is an indication I need to shift something else, because actually eating high carbohydrate food doesn't ultimately solve the problem. It just gives me temporary relief. So I'm quite interested that we do have clues about how we sort of self-manage, and then we can use those clues to shift our behavior and better understand our mental state. And whether it's binging on Ben & Jerry's ice cream, or whether it's going and picking a fight in a pub, or whatever is the thing you use to manage your mental state, it's not necessarily the best way to get the best outcome.
That's so true. And, you know, I'm glad you picked, because there are a whole range of behaviors that people won't necessarily recognize as a degrading of their mental state. Okay, we're coming to the end of this week. I'd like to thank you, Charles, and thank you, Kur, for your contribution. And what I'd say to connections of mine, connections of Kur's, and if Charles puts this up on his connections, what I'd say to you is this: both Charles and Kur have programs that can help you, whether or not you find yourself in mental anxiety at the moment, or whether or not you find yourself currently mentally fit. And I gave up smoking cigarettes last year, and the money saved on that alone well pays for the services that either Charles through Inspired CEOs, Future Perfect, or Kur with Wellness Orbit can provide. So see your mental health as an investment in your productivity and business effectiveness. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Shall we wave goodbye to everyone?
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank
you, Kur.
We'll join you again for another conversation another time. Thanks very much. Right.